We all know that kids aren't always easy. Whether it is their behavior, their emotions, or special circumstances, all kids go through phases that make parenting more difficult. So how do we continue to point our kids to Jesus when our kids' behavior makes getting through the day hard? Well, I have some ideas for you in this week's episode of Fridays Are for Families.
Welcome to another episode of Fridays Are for Families, where we seek to empower and equip you to grow as a disciple and disciple maker of Jesus Christ.
When our kids' behaviors are challenging, that makes the rest of parenting challenging as well, including discipleship. However, that does not mean we can take the time off. And to be honest, if you have more than one kid, you know that our kids often take turns being in difficult stages. If we took time off of discipling our children every time one of them was going through a tough time, we wouldn't spend much time leading our kids to Jesus. The truth is, when our kids are particularly challenging, that is the perfect time to remember that we are not always the most lovable either. We all know that our Heavenly Father has shown mercy and patience with us as we have delayed in obedience, fallen into the same old sin patterns, and given our love and affection to other things. Aren't these the same things that really irritate us about our own children? And yet we have been extended unbelievable grace as the Lord in His mercy has forgiven us time and time again. Sometimes when our irritation with our children grows and grows, it is because we need to take time to reflect on our own sinful nature. So once we make sure that we are approaching our kids from a position of humility, knowing that we are not more righteous than they are, then we need to examine how to continue to train them to know and love Jesus. So I have a few practical tips. First, it's okay to keep it simple. When our kids are going through trauma, tough times, sometimes their minds aren't able to think beyond the moment that they are in. That might mean that your discipleship time is short. Maybe in this season, that means you read a few verses from the Bible and you pray. That's great. Faithfully do this small act every day and trust that the Lord will multiply this action. Secondly, love your child more than the task at hand. If the entire time we are reading a devotion, we are reprimanding our children or yelling at them, we have missed the point. We don't disciple our kids just to check an item off the list. We do it to help them to see Jesus. This might mean that during a season of tough behavior, we don't expect our kids to sit for a devotion. Maybe we read a few verses while they eat dinner, or we relax our expectations for what it looks like for our kids to sit and listen. The goal is for our kids to walk away from this time together feeling loved by us and for them to be reminded of God's love for them. And finally, remember that discipleship doesn't just happen in the planned moments of a sit-down family devotion. It happens in everyday moments. So take advantage of behavior problems by pointing your child to the love of Jesus. Show them extravagant forgiveness, patience, and gentleness. Point to Jesus every moment you can. These moments are just as important as the time you spend reading the Bible and praying. Our Christian life is to be lived out at all times, not just when we sit down to do devotions. Parenting is tough. Kids are tough, but God has equipped you with everything you need to love your child well and to point them to Him. Continue to faithfully shape the faith of your child in all seasons, even the hard ones. Thanks for joining us for this week's Fridays Are for Families episode. If you have specific requests for information you would like to hear about, we would love to hear about them, and you can do that by commenting on the video on YouTube or Facebook, or by emailing us at family@lifeapathway.com. See you next week.